There's a house at the end of our street, abandoned for as long as I can remember. It's an old Victorian with peeling paint and a sagging porch, the kind of place neighborhood kids dared each other to go near. No one ever stayed long, though. It wasn't just the creaking floorboards or the broken windows that made us run. It was the silence. The house was unnaturally quiet. No matter the time of day, there were no birds singing near it, no crickets at night, not even the rustling of leaves. It was as if the house swallowed sound. My friends and I would stand on the sidewalk, testing the edge of that silence, throwing rocks at the windows or yelling, just to hear how quickly the noise faded once it hit the porch. When I was 16, I started working at the grocery store down the road, often walking home late at night. On those nights, I'd pass by the house, and even then, I could feel the silence tugging at me, begging me to step closer. It was like it was waiting for something or someone. One evening just after sunset, I saw a light flicker in one of the upstairs windows. It wasn't a flashlight or a candle. It was more like the dull glow of an old lamp. I stopped dead in my tracks, watching as the light blinked out, then came back again. My heart pounded in my chest, but curiosity overpowered my fear. I had to know. The porch creaked under my weight as I stepped onto it, and the door surprisingly wasn't locked. It opened with a whisper, revealing a hallway draped in shadows. I took a step inside, and the air felt thick, like the house itself was breathing. The silence was crushing now, pressing in on me from all sides. My footsteps barely made a sound, though the floorboards were rotted and broken in places. I followed the source of the light upstairs, my breath catching in my throat with every creak of the old staircase. At the top, there was a door, slightly ajar, and from the crack, I could see the flickering light. I pushed it open, and there in the center of the room was an old oil lamp, its flame dancing faintly. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. There was a figure standing in the corner of the room, a woman, her back to me, long hair draped over her shoulders. She was unnaturally still, like a statue. I couldn't move. My body froze as if every instinct screamed for me to run, but my feet were planted to the ground. "Hello," I whispered. Slowly, painfully slowly, she turned. Her face was shrouded in darkness, but her eyes, those eyes were wide, staring directly into mine. They were hollow, empty, like deep black pits that stretched on forever. I could hear a faint sound then, just beneath the silence, a whisper so quiet I could barely make it out. "Why are you here?" My heart slammed in my chest as her mouth twisted into a grotesque smile, and the silence around us deepened, pulling me under like a wave. I felt something cold crawl up my spine, wrapping itself around me, and I turned to run, but the hallway stretched on, impossibly long. The house didn't want to let me go. I bolted down the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. The silence was deafening now, a living thing that seemed to claw at my skin. When I reached the front door, it slammed shut just as I reached for it. A voice whispered behind me, "Stay." I spun around, but there was no one there. The house seemed to breathe around me, the walls groaning as if alive. Desperation took over, and I yanked the door open with a strength I didn't know I had. The second I stepped outside, the world returned to normal. The night was filled with the sounds of crickets, the wind in the trees, but the house behind me was silent, watching, waiting. I never went near it again. But sometimes late at night, when the wind is still and the crickets quiet, I feel that silence creeping back, tugging at me. The house hasn't forgotten me, and I don't think it ever will.